So we talked about destructuring arrays in our previous video. But we can also destructure objects. And let's see how we can destructure objects in JavaScript. First, we are going to take a look at the syntax of destructuring object. And this is the syntax for object destructuring. This means that we can create variable with the same names as the properties of the object and assign them the values of those properties. For example, let's say we have an object called person that has three properties: name, age, and occupation. So let person is equal to object with the name property like John, then age 25, and occupation is web development like this. Now we can destructure this object and we can create three variables with the same names as follow. Now here we can write let, then our curly braces, and then the name of the object from which we want to access our properties. So here in our case, the name is person. Now in here, we are going to write the name of the properties that we want to access from this object. So we want to access name, then age and occupation. And now we can use these three variables in our code without having to write like person.name, person.age, or person.occupation every time. This can save us some typing and make our code more cleaner. But what if we want to use different names for our variables than the properties of the object? For example, what if we want to use N, A, and O instead of name, age, and occupation? Well, we can do that too. We can write like this. Now here, after our name variable, we just need to write colon and then the name that we want to use instead of the property name. So here we want to use N, and now we can do this same thing with both of these. So here instead of age we can write colon and then A, and similarly here we can write colon then O. Now here we are creating three variables with different names than the properties of the object, and we are assigning the values of these properties to these variables, and this can give us more flexibility and control over our variable names. Now another thing we can do with destructuring object is to use default values. Like sometimes the object we are destructuring may not have all the properties that we expect, or some of the properties may have undefined or null values. In that case, we can use the following syntax to provide the default values for our variable. So let's say we are accessing hobby property from this person object which is not present in this object. So here if we write hobby, now if I hit save and if we log the value of this hobby variable, you can see we are getting undefined because this hobby property is not present in this person object. So here we can use default values and we can write hobby is equal to reading like this. And now if I hit save, you can see our hobby is equal to reading. Now this is how we can use our default values. This can help us avoid errors and handle missing or invalid data. Finally, let's now take a look at a real world case example of using JavaScript object destructuring. Now let's suppose we are working with an API that returns a response object that contains some information about a user such as ID, name, email, and address. Now this address itself is another object that contains street, city, state, and zip code. And we want to extract some of this information and display it on our web page. Now we can use object destructuring to make this task easier and cleaner. And here is how we can do that. Now to extract ID, name, email, and address, we can write let, then our curly braces, and then the name of the object, which is response, like this. And now here we can write the name of the properties that we want to extract. So here the name of the properties are ID, then name, then email, and now the last one is address, like this. Now after this, we also want to extract this city and this state property from this address object. Now in order to do this, we can write let, then our curly braces, then the properties are city and state. And now here the name of the object is address, because we want to extract these two properties from this address object. And now we can display this information on our web page. Now just to show you, I am logging these values to our console. Now after saving, you can see we have our ID, then we have the name, and after this we have our email, and then the last one is our address object. And in here we have city, state, and street. Now to display this information onto our web page, first we are going to select an element. Now here I am going to select our body element, and we can write document dot query selector, then the element name is body. Now I am storing this into a variable which is called body, like this. Now we are going to create our element by using JavaScript, and to create element we can write const para is equal to document dot create element, and then in this function call we need to write the name of the element, which is p for paragraph. Now we can write para dot text content is equal to id, and after this we can write body dot append child, then here we can write para, like this. And now on our screen you can see our id. Now we can write this id in a more nicer way by using our template literal, and here we can write the id of our person is, then our placeholder, and here we can write id, like this. Now if I hit save, you can see we have a paragraph on our web page with our id. Now to show the name, email, and address, we need more paragraph. So we need to do this same thing like 3 or 4 times. So it's better to create a function instead of writing the same code again and again. Now to create this function, we can write function create para, then parentheses. Now this function has one parameter, which is the text that we want to display on our web page. So here we can write text and then parentheses. I am just cutting these lines from here, and I am pasting these inside of our create para function, like this. Now here, instead of this hard-coded text, we are going to use this text parameter. And now we can create paragraph for all of this information that we want to show on our web page. Now here we need to call this function. So create para, and here we are going to write our text string by using our template literal. We can write the id of the person is, then the id name, like this. Now you can see this is our first paragraph. Now to create the second one, here we just need to change this text content, and we can write the name of the person is, then here we can put this name variable. After saving, you can see we have another paragraph with the text of the name of the person is Alice. And we can do the same thing with email, and here only we need to change this name to email of the person, and then here instead of name we can write email. After saving, we have another paragraph. So this is how we can create elements using JavaScript. Now as you can see, by using object destructuring, we can access the properties of the response object and the address object in a simple and elegant way. We can also avoid creating unnecessary variables or repeating the dot notation. This can make our code more readable and maintainable. So that is it for this video. We have learned how to destructure objects in JavaScript and what are some of the benefits and challenges of doing so. We have seen how we can use the basic syntax, how we can use different variable names, and how we can use default values. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more exciting web development tutorials. If you have any question, leave them in the comments below. Keep coding and keep creating. I will see you in the next video.